So like most of you, I've gone down pretty much every path that there is. And what I've noticed is no one path feels 100% right. Everything feels slightly off, even if it's 90% right, 90% feels good. I just feel like it's never the complete journey. Therefore, it always leaves me kind of paving my own path and finding my own way. I don't know if you can relate at all. One thing that has stuck out to me, or a couple things that have been very similar in every path that I've seen that really, I guess you could say, resonate with me, is I really like the fact that there is somebody that did something for us, died for our sins, and I believe that that person is Jesus. Whether we're getting the name correct or not, I think that that's the best term we have now to describe that person. That's one foundational fact that I feel is true. Another thing that I found is true, based on that death, he wanted to prove to us that we had more potential within us. We see it all throughout our movies, all of these different extraordinary things. And then we have certain people interpreting scripture in certain ways which may or may not be complete or accurate or made from God. And usually they interpret any sort of extraordinary abilities as satanic and the opposite of where we should be going. Now, these things from these people being said, they should hold weight because these people usually saying these things are good people and they're coming from a good place. That being said, the point is, no matter where you go, always pave your own path. Always be open to everything. Always stay morally good. And any power you get, use that power to liberate the people. It's that simple. Stay in service to the world no matter where you go, what path you take. There's something bigger than you. Stay humble. Understand that there have been people before us that have sacrificed themselves, that have died for us, like the one known as Jesus, to show us that we can attain the same thing they did by being in service to the world and maintaining that mindset and walking in the divine and the light. And I think that's the overall point. This being said, let's get into this thought experiment that I think will blow your mind. So first of all, I believe that we all came from one thing. We were all originally one color. We all originally knew one truth. We all originally came from one source at the peak, at the top. And we were diluted. Genetically, our knowledge was diluted. Now we are divided and chopped up in society today. Clearly, knowledge was lost. And the history we have is not accurate. We know that and can feel it in our soul. And yes, there's a million different perspectives and things that people claim to say and know about things that happened. It's pretty crazy all the different directions to go. And this is one of those directions. The other aspect to keep in mind is, for instance, the Nazi symbol. That symbol before they used it was a sacred symbol and it did not mean Nazis. Just like the rainbow used to be a representation of color and beauty, and now it's used to represent LGBTQ and to teach kids instead of color, to teach kids to, I'm sure you know. Just remember, evil cannot create. It can only manipulate. Everything originates somewhere, symbols, knowledge. And at one point, we had the truth. We were full, we were complete, we were pure, and they diluted us. And they continue to dilute our genetics further and further every single day. Everything is DNA damaging and altering, and that's to get us further from the source, from God, from our bloodline. It's a genetic war. Watch this with an open mind, and when you see things that look like other things, such as Mason attire, Egyptian aspects, symbols, understand that at some point, these symbols were neutral, or if anything, were positive, and everything's been manipulated and inverted. So that way we throw out the baby with the bathwater, metaphorically. Always maintain being open, never throw out any of the information. Watch with an open mind and come to a determination at the end. Just remember, we are all family. We are all one. I hope you enjoy this compilation.
I was gifted something awesome. I was gifted the 1911 11th edition of Encyclopedia Britannica, all of the volumes. And I want to share with you just a couple things that I randomly found just flipping through the pages. So I was just flipping through the different maps. And looky what I found. What is that right there? Tartaria. So here I found Atlantis. And what does it say about Atlantis? It says that it was an island country larger than Asia Minor. That it had been in power 9,000 years earlier. And its armies had overrun most of Europe. except for Athens, which stood alone against it. Now, what's really interesting that if you read down here, it says that it was a sunken island off the Cornish coast, and that it appeared in many folk tales from Gibraltar through Hebrides, and until 1853 was marked on English charts as a rock at 44 degrees and 48 minutes north and 26 degrees and 10 minutes west. Anyone around there, I'd love to see what that looks like. Even what we consider commonwealths, like parasite, don't have the same meaning as we would think of them today. The early parasites may be divided into two classes, religious and civil. The former were assistants of the priest, their chief duty being to collect the corn dues, which are contributed by the farmers of the temple lands.
Plenty of evidence that there were many sites that were thought to be just legend and myth, like Troy, for instance, that has now been proven to be an actual real city that mimics the initial descriptions of it.
We should never dismiss myths. We should always listen to them. They're the memory bank of our species, and they may be expressed in symbolic language. There may be wonderful stories built around them, but at the core is factual information. The story of Atlantis is not alone. There are thousands of traditions from all around the world speaking of a global flood that destroyed a former civilization, that brought to an end a golden age.
This is white. This is white. This is light brown. That's tans. This is white. This is dark brown. Okay? This is a lighter brown. This is a lighter brown. Humanity is brown. We are all brown. There is no white or black people. We are all different shades of melanin.
You are all members of the same race, the human race, which started with black women between 300,000. Don't interrupt me, I don't have much time. Now, white folks, you don't like it, but all you are is faded blacks. Every one of you, if you trace your DNA back far enough, you're going to find that some of your DNA came from Africa, because we all have the same ancestor back there, every single one of us. And those of you who think you don't have are obviously from outer space. Now, that means that every one of us is a 30th to 50th cousin to every other person in this room. Well, every person in this room who considers himself or herself a biracial person, stand. Don't you stand. Don't you stand. People, we have to get rid of the language of racism. I'm not a teacher. Teachers dispense facts and figures so that they can get their kids ready for the end of school testing. I've been called a trainer. You train dogs and horses and members of the military. I don't train people. I'm an educator. The word educator comes from the root duc dus, which means lead, the prefix e, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, and the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of ignorance. In this country, we spend a lot of money on what we call education. It isn't education, it's indoctrination.
Dear white people, you and I can stop this separation and division. We all come in different shapes, sizes, and colors, but we are all one race, the human race. So let's treat each other like that, as one.
These are the shades of brown. These colors are the color of every human being that walks the earth. If you can find the color of your skin on these shades of brown, you are not black and you are not white. I'm sick of falling for the same social construct, and I'm sick of it going from generation to generation. Today it stops. We will no longer refer to anyone as black or white. Puerto Ricans, you're brown. Asians, Afro-Asiatics, you're brown. What we call white people, you're brown. Black people, you're dark brown. And now it's us, the human brown race, versus the elites who want to be called white. We are now all brothers and sisters. We now begin to strive for unconditional love, unity, and equality amongst ourselves.
Well, if you make the assumption that the human race arose like around the equator and the skin color, dark skin color would be the phenotype, then are you assuming that as people moved outward, there was a mutation, and if you were in the north, it allowed that mutation to live, which is how we got white people?
Yes, that's,
Would that follow?
yeah. If Nina Jablonski, who spoke at another one of your things, explained this, and she played a role in studying the reason for dark skin, which is if you have lots of intense sunlight, it destroys folic acid, and it turns out folic acid is really important for babies to develop properly, so it's not too good for a population for the babies to not develop properly. So that's why dark skin. Now, as you move north, there's another essential vitamin called vitamin D. There's an intermediate, biochemical intermediate, that needs to be then converted by the liver, but that intermediate's formed by UV light going through the skin. If you're near the equator and you have a dark skin, it still gets through enough to get your vitamin D. But now if you go north and it's cold and you wrap up and it's less sun because the sun's coming at an angle now, you will get rickets and have other problems supposedly. So that's thought to be the reason for selection for lighter skin.
I got my DNA test back today, and it says I'm most notably connected, or my DNA is most notably connected to Chief Pontiac of the Ottawa Indians, or Native Americans. That blew my mind. And I was born in Korea, lived on the streets of South Korea.
Same word.
But there's not much Korean in me. How is that even possible? So, I'm a Korean from Korea that's not Korean, that's most notably connected to Chief Pontiac. How is that even possible? Someone explain it.
Cube, why are you putting Native Americans in here? Why isn't this just for black people?
Well, black people are Native Americans. You know, we've had, you know, a lot of proof that, you know, some of us started here in this land. Everybody wasn't brought over from Africa. So, you know, we have to, like you say, unpack all of that and try to, you know, find the true lineage of people in this country.
Chinese just came out last month, one of the top geneticists in China, who now stated that their first ancestor in China was an African, and every Chinese carries the DNA. The East Indians have already done this. Mexicans have done it. So you mean to tell me the people in the diaspora who look the most like the African American, you have nothing to do with Africa genetically. It's ridiculous, but we have to look at the mentality behind that. Nobody wants to be on a losing team.
True.
And until African people start winning globally, nobody wants to be a part of us. This is why you have Spanish-speaking Africans in the Caribbean who will call themselves Latino or Hispanic. They're Africans, but who wants to be part of a losing team? It's just like when you go throughout Africa, it's not, I still run across Africans who will tell you, I'm French, I'm British, you understand? Because nobody wants to be part of a losing team. But the minute African people get our situation back in order, everybody who don't want to be black will proudly return to the race. We have to give them something to be proud of. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, the white man has made being black a curse. I'm going to make being black a blessing. He said we have to sell being African back to the African.
Let's speak about Latinos not being black. Latinos are black. Same thing with Puerto Rico. When you go to Loíza, and when you talk about Santeria, that came from the motherland, Africa. Sometimes Latinos might even identify themselves with African and black culture more than black people. All the music is African. Brazilian music, all of it. Dominican music, Spanish drums, all the music is African music. I've been in Africa. They've been doing that.
The Twa people, case in point, Twa people, the Dogon, some parts of the Dravidians, your people in the South Pacific, your people in the rainforest down in South America, indigenous people.
These are the images of Africans who were known as the Olmecs, who were part of the ruling class in Mexico for hundreds of years, and they left these images all throughout Mexico. They inspired the creation of the calendar, architecture, engineering, cosmology.
Now these are the facts. Native Americans are copper colored. A
lot of the Native Americans in North America are mixed with Europeans, French to be specific. So a lot of them are light. Some of them even look Caucasian. But when you find unmixed Native Americans, like in Central America or the Amazon jungle, you will see that they're copper colored. You will see that they resemble the people on the Incans, the Mayans, and Aztec walls of their structures. You understand me? The dreadlocks, them are matted, that's matted hair. Native Americans had dreadlocks. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them came from Polynesian descent. So they were seafaring people. They had dreadlocks. That doesn't signify anything that has to do with African descent. You don't see anybody with afros on the walls of the Aztec, Incans, or Mayans at all. You don't find any pics in the ancient ruins. That means that them people weren't people with woolly, curly, 9-ether hair, because people with this hair all around the world take pride in it and let it show. You understand me? They don't hot comb it and perm it. Come on, man. Dude told me that they had hot combs in ancient America. That's why their hair's straight and not like this.
You have something called African ancestry, and guess what you got too? Indigenous native ancestry. Why is there 2 different blood tests? So I even think it's something going on with that, on what they're doing with these DNA tests that's automatically bringing us back to Africa. There was a test done where this dude, it was a white man. He said that he had a suspicion about them lying with the DNA test, and he sent the saliva of his lizard to Ancestral.com. Did you know his lizard came back 34% Nigerian? I'm just saying. So man, all this propaganda, man. And look, I don't care if they mad at me or not. All I'm saying is research what I'm saying. I know it sounds taboo, but what happened if the biggest conspiracy in the history of lies happened? And that is that we are indigenous from America. We come from America. We don't come from Africa. But in order for them to take the precious treasures of America, which we have oil, we have gold, we have copper, we have all of that here. They act like all this is in Africa. All this is here too. What happened if it was to drive us out, connect us back to Africa, for we want to go back home, and while we going back to so-called home, we're leaving our home and they taking over our land? I'm just saying, when you really think about it, then look, what happened if the maps is flipped? Because from my understanding of my studies, Lebanon, Illinois, was called Lebanon before there was a Lebanon over there. What about Israel? Here. What about Judah? What you'll call Utah? This is here. You start getting into these old names. There's a city out here called Morocco. These are different cities. And what about Memphis? Where's Memphis at? Memphis, Tennessee, that has one of the oldest pyramids here. It's a pyramid in Memphis right now. They didn't put glass over. That's a real pyramid. But then you have a Memphis over there in where? Egypt. What about Cairo? Cairo, Illinois. That's here in the Americas. So we have these different cities in these different states named after stuff that's in Africa. But when you do deep research and study, these was named that here before it was named that there. I'm saying, we got to talk about, then you got stuff like Milwaukee. That's an Indian tribe name. You know what I'm saying? Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's an Indian name. So you start going, and then you got different sections in, because Missouri and Illinois is one of your most oldest places in the world. Where I'm from, one of your most oldest places. You got Chickasaw Street, you got Cherokee Street, and then you start seeing there's different museums around there. They got all of our stuff in it. They got other people's faces on it. They have did this to the whole world, where they go around where ancient ancestral black people come from. They will change the faces to them, and then they'll take our history. So my belief, my research, my study shows that we are in the oldest parts of the world, which is ancient America. We are not from Africa. I do believe that all people of melanin descent do have some type of ancestral and DNA connection, but we are not all the same people, and we don't all keep or hold the same traditions. And I believe a lot of islanders, like such as yourself, actually come from the lower Americas, and it actually was a ship's trade there. where a lot of y'all went from the South America to the islands, but it didn't happen the other way where we all came by millions on this big ass boat, stacked on each other like sardines, came over from Africa, from a port called Yehuda, all the way over into the Americas. And I haven't found any evidence that truly suggests that. Now, can you tamper with evidence and make things look like something? Yes, that's why we all think we're from Africa when we not.
And this is one of the biggest lies they ever told us, that we all from Africa, skin and black. We all are not from Africa. We were always here on this land. We didn't come from no Africa.
You're Indian? Yeah. Oh, come on, man. Yeah, you gotta be kidding me.
What kind of Indian are you?
Like Tonto Indian?
Shitty Indian. Yeah, I had no idea about the history. I had no idea how inclusive this group is and what it means to be part of Standing Rock and be part of the United Sioux Nations.
Well, I have one that's my tribal tattoo. I'm from, the Pamunkey tribe.
Stand asked my grandma, like, yo, grandma, what's your background? She like, Redfoot and Blacktail Indian. What? Yeah, my mother and my father did. We 100% Indians.
I've been in the business so long, and I'm the only Indian in the business today.
As an Indian because of African descent, or am I this color because this is the color of my ancestors?
Indian territories, tribes. Like, people be thinking Indians with the Pocahontas looking, that ain't how Indians look. They look like them people in New Orleans.
And all of them had each other's names tattooed on them. Man. And this was when I was younger. I didn't understand it, but then when I started going to New Orleans, like, on tour and shit.
We tried.
The way they are with each other, they love each other a different way than everybody else.
We're going to talk about the black Indians I met that are still alive.
No, go ahead. Let's talk about them. Go ahead.
In New Orleans.
Well, the truth to that lies with the anthropologists, if they tell the truth. Because as they dig into the grounds, they have found people and they know they look like I look.
A few weeks ago, a guy was digging a pool in his backyard in the downtown area of New Orleans. You see, New Orleans was smaller one time, and this area was country. And they hit 6 feet down, they hit a casket. What's the casket doing here? It was a cypress casket, cypress wood. Now, when you dig down more than a foot or two in New Orleans, you're going to hit water. Cypress is a tree that's grown in a swamp. It does not rot. The cypress casket has been good for a few hundred years. They found black Indians inside with black artifacts, Indian artifacts. Okay? They said, well, let's dig north instead of that right here. They went north to casket. South hit them, east hit them, west hit them. We found that there's a graveyard, an ancient graveyard that's almost a mile in north, south, east, and west, almost a mile apart, almost. And they found out that since when they weren't able to go any further laterally, like we dig graves, they started digging down, one on top of the other. And they have found so far 20,000 graves, black Indians.
Wow.
Okay? And this is about to hit. It hasn't hit. This happened a few weeks ago. You haven't heard it on the news yet, but it's going to hit the news because it's going to leak out. They're hushing it right now.
The Order of the Red Man, Pocahontas, and the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts grew up to want to be Indians. The Pocahontas, they grew up, they wanted to be Indians, but also the Pocahontas, Boy Scout, and the Red Man reorganized America's way of seeing American Indians, and they helped to create tribes. Tom made that understood. Y'all with me? But can y'all see this? If y'all can see it, give me a little bit of fire. Who gave the land to whom? It says the Pope gave North and South America to Spain. When we hear people talking about this part of America came from France to Spain, no, let's see, when did he give it to them? To right there, 1493. 1493, y'all keep talking about the doctrine of discovery, but it tells you the king, Pope Alexander, he did this in 1493, May the 4th. Yeah.
All right, this is just a jump on here and help y'all clarify this. See, this is North and South America right here. This red line right here is the line that the Pope drew well, Atlantic, whatever, which means he gave all this to Spain over here. And he gave that whole side to somebody else. But this is what Chief Warhorse is talking about, North and South America. So that's United States and South America. The Pope gave it, that was back in 1492. So that's what she's talking about. This is way back before all these different people come up with they from here and this and that. We was already there. That's what she's talking about. Go check out Chief Warhorse. Listen to my man Rod Hayes. Any information I get, I'm going to give to you too.
Take over their buildings. New York was already there for thousands of years. San Francisco was there for thousands of years. Los Angeles was there for thousands of years. They were built by the indigenous people who were black and Indians as well. The black people, they weren't brought over by slaves. They are the original owners of America. Black people, African Americans. They don't come from Africa. They were already here.
And that's why when you look on the back of the dollar bill, you see there's two seals here. This is the only nation with a two-sided seal. This seal you see here with the pyramid is the seal of our ancestors and our federal government that we have set up here in this hemisphere going way back. This is the seal of the 6 European tribes that we allowed to set up here. That is why above our seal says Annuit Coeptus. He had favored our undertaking. I mean, it was our federal government here that was already established, what they call Iroquois Confederacy, so on and so forth, was already established, that taught them the science of government and allowed them to set up here. And here you see this flag has 6 white stripes and 7 red. And the elders taught us that those 6 white stripes stands for the British, the Irish, the Scottish, the French, the Dutch, and the German. The 6 European tribes that we allowed to set up here. And all they had initially was the eastern seaboard. The rest was ours. The elders also taught us some things. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy, but do the research and you're going to be surprised at what you find. The elders told us that the original Nile was here. Old man Mississippi. The Missouri being the blue and the Ohio being the white. And until this day, where them two come together, there's a city there called Cairo to this day. And that area is called Little Egypt. Then you go down into what the elders taught us was Alabama and so on and so forth being Lower Egypt. Then you get into Memphis, Tennessee, the Memphite theology. Kentucky, King Tut. And then you start to look a little further, and then you find out that there was an archaeological cover-up involving the Smithsonian Institute, where they found thousands and thousands of artifacts. They found artifacts showing human beings contemporary with dinosaurs. A lot of this information they put on ships and dumped into the Atlantic Ocean. Some of it they got still in hidden chambers that they say you can't go in there because it got asbestos and it's unsafe. There's a part of the Grand Canyon where they have all Egyptian names, Tet, Osiris, Isis, and they got that part blocked off. They said it's too dangerous for the people to go there. To this day, this exists.
There's a profound difference between Kemet and Egypt. Egypt is a Greek word that was used to describe one temple in Kemet. And so Kemet was ruled by indigenous African people. Egypt was ruled by Greeks for approximately 600 years. So if you look at that image on the screen, you can see 9 African rulers of Kemet and 3 European rulers of Egypt.
If you read what the Greeks said, not what we think, but if you read what the Greeks said, they got everything from Egypt. They got all their knowledge from Egypt. Pythagoras spent 15 years in Egypt. And what did he have to do? He probably had to spend 5 years convincing them that he was worthy to get the knowledge that they had. And the Greeks did this. And they said that they got all their knowledge from the Egyptians. Remember, knowledge was power. Knowledge was sacred. Knowledge was something you just didn't publish in the newspapers. Knowledge was guarded very closely because it was of tremendous value. You wouldn't give it to anybody. Now, when did we come up with the idea that the Greeks created everything from scratch? It happened in the 18th and 19th century. And in the 18th and 19th century, it was decided that it was just not appropriate for all this knowledge to come from an African country.
Wake the fuck up.
Wake up.
Now, peep Old Testament map of ancient America. Hold up. Alright, so Pete, right? I had zoomed in.
Wake up! Wake up!
So what if this what it really was, bro? And if anything, right? This would really make sense. You wanna know why? Because what's in this area? Washington, D.C. Oh my God!
The white scientists go into the temples of Kemet to excavate and clean up the walls and temples and make them visitable and inhabitable. They are changing the color of the actual paintings of the Africans on the wall. There was an entire report that came out how the scientific excavators in the temples of Kemet were lightening up the images on the wall, the medu neter. So you have black images and they're using chemicals that actually turn the black image tan.
Professor Smalls told me when he went to study over there, he said the reason why we over here in the West are so caught up with ancient Kemet is because the seeds of Kemet, after Kemet was destroyed, all were driven to the south and to the west of Africa. And during the time of the slave trade, the strangers were the ones that they gave up first. So the people who actually are the ones that were brought over here were the remnants from ancient Kemet. They too, the people of Mali and the people of these areas that you're seeing with the Dogon, they say that the Dogons themselves are the forgotten parts of those tribes.
Fire coming out of them. What fire? The solar plex fire. Solar. Don't let me speak to you about a fire that's burning inside of us that they don't have. Their palate is low. You understand me? We have an inner torch in the ancient writings of Michelangelo. Notice his name. Michelangelo, the angel Michael. He made a picture of Jesus, Jesus, and he always would draw a little torch in his chest, a little candle. That's right. You remember that picture? Right. They never told you what that torch meant, though. That torch is an inner light, like I said last time. Anybody here who is 9 ether, 8 ether, or 7 ether, and when I say 7, 8, and 9 ether, I'm talking about the texture of your kingly hair.
So we're talking about skin melanin. We have more of that, protects you from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. What I'm saying is you eat the sun. Sun shines on your skin. Some cholesterol picks it up, takes it to the liver, and converts it to vitamin D2. You actually eat the sun. The more sun you absorb, the more stronger your bones are. The less sun you absorb, the more weak your bones are. You gotta take vitamin D if you live in this climate. You're not getting enough sun. You need vitamin D. You're not getting enough sun. You gotta have at least 2 hours of sunlight to stimulate the melanin. Allows protection from extreme hot and cold temperatures. That's what melanin does. Eskimos are not white people. Eskimos are colored people. Causing you to have the least amount of hair on your body than any other race.
Do y'all remember, though, you know, in the late 90s or the early 2000s, when, you know, like, it was like a news station that was in Georgia, and, you know, they was like basically talking about Malachi York, and they was all on a news station like supposedly he's from another planet, you know, and they was trying to be funny. Remember this? Look, let me show you.
Joins us now with more on who they are and the biggest questions surrounding these folks. Doug?
Amanda, this group is probably located about 50 miles south of Athens. It's a group that has published piles of newsletters and writes favorably about bits and pieces of all the world's major religions. Yet its members say they are non-religious, a fraternal order, like the Shriners. The group's leader is described as more than a teacher. He is the supreme grand master and happens to be from another planet. The Eatonton-based group,
you see what I'm saying?
The nation of Nawabian Moors, the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek, it all fits enough of a pattern that it has some Putnam Countyans nervously asking, is this group a cult?
When any other group of people get together, there is not a conversation about a cult ever being brought up. But as soon as you have certain kind of people coming together as one, then all of a sudden, them coming together becomes a cult.
70 miles southeast of Atlanta.
And what should the neighbors say?
Putnam County, best known as the dairy capital of Georgia.
Oh, they got 400 in Salt Lake.
goes up to that corner yonder?
William Larman is a dairyman, and he's talking about his new neighbors.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy for him.
Cool.
Dairyman. Because they said they come from what? Ribs. Planet Ribs, I think.
Oh, but it ain't funny though. They ain't lying. Do y'all remember that video? And look, that neighbor, he was cool. You know what I'm saying? He said, yeah, them neighbors, they some cool neighbors, you know. They not dairymen, you know. He said that they from the planet Risk. You know, he thought it was funny, but he said that it was cool. He wasn't gonna bother him. He respected him. Which goes against the reports that they was making, saying that the neighbors and other people around felt threatened by their energy and threatened by the fact that there was a call. That was a whole lie. The neighbors was cool about it.
The scripture teaches us that we are the woman's seed, not that she is our seed. And the war is going to be between the woman and the serpent and her seed, which is you and me. That's why in ancient Egypt, the god Isis is the ark for the archangel that domes over the heavens and is painted blue, and the man is on his back looking up. All men pass through the garden to get into earth. The garden is pure and unadulterated. It's called the vagina or virginity. We all pass through it to get here. The inner light, like I said last time. Anybody here who is 9 ether, 8 ether, or 7 ether, and when I say 7, 8, and 9 ether, I'm talking about the texture of your kingly hair, not kinky hair. 7 ether is wavy, 8 ether is curly, and 9 ether is nappy. You understand that? That's the fuse that's ignited by the sun. In the center of your chest, and that's why the devil calls the solar plex, because it's a sun here. Take your hand and just rub it like that. All right? Now we move it. And just take your mouth and go. You feel that heat? You know that if you ask any medical doctor, they'll tell you more Nubian children get high temperatures than white. The fact, don't believe me. Check it out.
Dr. York would prophesy that he would be locked down under a pyramid. This is ADX prison. How will he know this? Now we right above ADX prison, and you can see the 2 pyramids above. A lot of your Nawapians will read the text and think they are talking about the pyramids in Egypt. Dr. York was so special because of his bloodline. He could unite the people and speak for tribes all over the world. And he would go to ancient mystery schools to obtain all of his knowledge. He would start telling the people that he is a reincarnation of Melchizedek, the Messiah that will break the curse on humanity. Dr. York would also go back to Africa and discover his royal bloodline. This is all what he told the people. His royal bloodline is connected to the black nobility. This is a Roman and Moorish brotherhood. This is a superior bloodline that can roam the earth and do whatever they want. Now, I studied Dr. Malachi Z. York for years, and this is where he messed up at. Now, you can create your own organizations, profit, do whatever you want to do. But when you start saying you are the Messiah, they will come for you. Bobby Hemmett spoke on this. You are messing up the timeline of the gatekeepers. Just think, by saying I'm the new Messiah, that would be destroying anybody's religion, spiritual awakening, that will have any type of Messiah or Christ figure attached to it. So by him saying he was this reincarnation, he made great enemies. They would then try to label the Nawapians as this evil cult, and they would give Dr. Malachi 135 years in prison, right under the pyramids. A lot of people ask me why I don't speak on their master teacher, and that is because a lot of these teachings go back 20 to 30 years ago. We are vibrating with a higher conscious and a higher level of understanding now. Malachi Z. York will create his own story and disappear, just like Jesus and the rest of the prophets. We are in a new age now. All of your alien and UFO stuff is being exposed. That is you, God. You have psychic abilities. You have powers within that you don't even know that you have. Just the power of thought is a strong thing. And be aware what you put into your conscious, because you can manifest things easily. Know thyself is the first law. You are the master of your reality, not no one else. And Dr. Malachi Z. York was only put here for a short period of time to wake up the lost ones.
Intelligence not perceivable by the human eye. They will be looking into exoplasma and the spiritual world. Now, what they don't know is the gates of the spiritual world. And when they open them, when they make this magnetic link, the way you do with electricity, when you make a mistake and grab electricity, it has a thing. You grab it, and it grabs you. And then it decides to travel from its destination and include you in its path, and it zooms through your whole body. When they bite into this spiritual world with these computers, what they don't want to admit is that when they grab it, it's gonna grab them. Now, do they know that happens? Yes. It's called the Ouija board. And they have admitted over the years, if you play with a Ouija board, you can open up a porthole or a gate to another side where you will be plagued with demons for the rest of your life. No, Jesus is not coming through the Ouija board for you. However, there'll be people on the other side, disembodied souls, that will speak to you and pretend they're Jesus. And then tell you, see, you got to go out and save the world. You got to go out and kill all those people. Because they take pride in having an effect on the physical world. These are people who died prematurely, died in hate crimes, died by brutal murders, and they're now ethically trapped in this realm with you. They're called disembodied souls. Oh, you feel them. You feel them on the back of your neck sometimes. You feel them breathing. You feel it sometimes when you're walking and they step periodically into this realm by accident, but you know what enhances their presence? The adrenaline in your body. The fear. See, a dog also picks it up. See, that's why they say a dog can tell when you're afraid and will go after you. Also, a dog can hear sounds you don't hear and see things on a level they see spirits you don't see. So can cats. And that's why they use dogs and cats in witchcraft, because they have a link to both worlds. Now they have to come to the reality that these things are no longer the Twilight Zone. They're no longer the Twilight Zone. It's real. And now they're able to weigh the soul.
A lot of people don't understand why Malachi took us through so many different religions and schools of thought. Just for him to say, at the end of the doctrine, that all of it comes from Egypt. We had to absorb and take on the lifestyles of all these different religious people that exist out in the world. We had to live like Muslims, we had to read the Quran, we had to live like Christians, we had to read the Bible, we had to read all the scriptures that was taken out of the canonized version of the Bible. We had to read the Gnostic scriptures. We had to live as close as possible to the ancient Hebrew Israelites. We had to read the Torah, we had to read the Sumerian tablets. We had to do all these different schools of thought and all these different religious lifestyles, just for Malachi to say at the end of the day and at the end of the doctrine that it all came from Egypt. And most people were like, why didn't he just skip straight to the Egypt part? What was the point of him going through all those different religions just for him to tell us the truth at the end if he knew the truth all along? He's not called the master teacher for no reason. He is a master of teachers. He is a teacher of teachers. The reason why he did this was because a majority of black people all around the world belong to a religion. And as long as we still believed in that religion, there was nothing coming in and nothing coming out. He couldn't give us any spiritual information as long as we were still Christians, Muslims, and Hebrew Israelites. So he had to meet us where we were at. Malachi always said, I came giving you what you want, which was religion, so that you could learn to want what I have to give. He had to hold our hand and walk us through that long walk on a short path which is a representation of all the information that we had to consume in a short span of time, because he knew eventually he was going to get locked up. As soon as the world order found out who this man was and what he was doing, they had to take him off of the map, and killing him would amplify his doctrine. So they had to disown his name. They had to get his own people to turn against him. And if you still don't know he got set up in 2024, then you're just a lost cause. But let's get back on topic. Malachi had to meet us where we were at, in whatever religion that we were at, and go through that religion with us, read the Bible with us, memorize the verses with us, teach us Hebrew, and every once in a while he would sprinkle a little bit of truth in each and every one of those doctrines. And people didn't understand that. He was elevating us, even though we were still bound by those religions. But ever so slowly, he started to remove the shackles that religion had put on our minds, because religion removes common sense. Even though all the stuff that he said made sense, our common sense was so low because of the religion that controlled us that no information could come in. And it takes a Christian a whole lifetime to be a Christian. It takes a Muslim a whole lifetime to be a Muslim. It takes a Hebrew Israelite a whole lifetime to be Hebrew Israelite. But we didn't have time for that. So we cleared the Quran, we cleared the Bible, we cleared the Torah, we cleared all these religious texts in a short period of time. And we fully comprehended everything that those scriptures wanted us to know. And we moved on to the next doctrine. We used each and every one of those religions as stepping stones, bringing us closer to the original teachings, which were the teachings of Kemet. All of those religions were the lesser mysteries, which was an initiation for the greater mysteries, building our mental and spiritual fortitude and building our craving and hunger for the real spiritual nourishment. Spiritual growth is a step-by-step process, and you can't skip any sort of steps, because then you're going to be confused when you get to level 13 if you haven't went through levels 1 through 12. 1 through 12 helped you get to level 13. And after we went through all those different schools of thought and looked at life from different angles and different perspectives, we were eventually building our awareness around the circle, turning ourselves into circumologists. We started to get out of the realm of duality and penetrate the realm of oneness. That's what Malachi was showing us how to do. Because on this side of the intellect, or on this side of the mirror, your subconscious governs your mind. It rules your life. You may not notice it, but it does. And your subconscious doesn't know the difference between good, bad, right, wrong, left or right, positive, negative. All it knows is what you focus on. And what you focus on is what your subconscious manifests. So at first we had to focus on duality. And once we graduated and mastered the degree of duality, we were then ready to move on to oneness. The pendulum swings from left to right, positive to negative, from high to low. But if you vibrate above the pendulum doesn't affect you. That is supreme balance. In graduating all of Malachi's schools of thought, or degrees of spiritual knowledge that he taught us, made us the most wisest people on the planet.
I'll tell you about when your skin was once green. You put a fake ring on and fake doesn't necessarily mean fake. Fake means it came from an alloy containing iron and copper, which has magnesium, which gets back on your skin through the sweat. The moisture goes back in the pores, causing your skin to turn green once again. You know what I'm saying? And when I start to educate people on that, I'm pseudo. Right? Pseudo means that something that is made up or fictitious.
Yaki Elohim. Elohim just means Anunnaki. It's these group of beings. When God's in the Bible says, God said, let us, plural. It says, and God said, and Elohim said. Elohim is God. And so when you look at the word Elohim, it means God with an S, gods, plural. So many gods created man. It said, is God, and God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. So it shows you that mankind is a template, and we look like our creator. That's the first thing they said, right? And then once you see that, then it says what they gonna do. I'm gonna give them the dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, woody-wop and this and that. But notice the instruction came. He created Adam and Eve. He put Adam and Eve, Elohim did. So Elohim, these gods created man, this biological man. They put this man in a garden, right? So they put man in a garden, and then it says his whole purpose was to dress and keep the garden. So his whole purpose was for servitude in the first place. He was supposed to dress and keep this little simulation that the creator Elohim put him in. Then it said that he got smart and he disobeyed Elohim, right? And when he got smart and disobeyed Elohim, he left one service place where it didn't seem like he was working, but to dress and keep the garden is still servitude. You know, he had to guard the garden. What was he guarding the garden for? And he had to dress it, meaning he had to build it up and make it fashionable for him and his family. But after Adam and Kawar, who they call Adam and Eve, went against Elohim's plan and instructions, he kicked them out of one simulation and then he put them in a more hostile environment. Now, in this hostile environment, guess what it says? It says that they had to work from the sweat of thy what? Brow. So now they went from this, tilling the garden to this rigorous hard work. Then you start looking around in the book of Genesis, it's talked about how they worked in a place where there was gold, Havilah, where there was gold. It talks about that they gold mine. It talks about how they was working in the middle of 4 rivers, which where the garden was at. They kicked them out of the garden and put something called a Melachine or archangel in to keep them from getting back into paradise. And while they was outside of paradise, they literally had to work from the sweat of their brow. And if you read in the book of Enoch, or you read in the book of Jasher, or you read in the book of Adam and Eve, it shows how rigorous that work was.
What do I want people to know about me? Can I twist that question?
Sure.
This is what I want people to know. The whole point of the human race, of the human mind in itself, is evolution. Whether it's evolution spiritually, physically, period. Evolution. The purpose from birth is creation. That's all humans do. Everything around you was created. You were created. That table over there created. This chair created. This mic created. That camera created. That hat created. The whole point of the human race in itself is creation. Before now, when there was at least ideally the belief of 2 human beings on earth, everything after that was a creation in itself. The whole point is evolution and creation. If you're not evolving, you're doing something wrong. So anything that takes away the power of your mind is keeping you still and delaying your evolution. The whole point of life is evolution. Study your laws of the universe. The law of attraction, the law of abundance, the law of equivalent exchange. Study your laws, the laws of cause and effect, karmic cycle. Study your laws. Dwell into your mind, meditate. Understand that you can alter your realms by your train of thought. The minute you slow down your thought, you're able to leave your body through astral projection. You're only enslaved if you can't control your mind. So while you can and while you don't have the whole world against you, or you don't have a lot of worries, worry on freeing your mind from this realm. When you can free your mind from this realm, everything is but a thought. And if you can't free your mind, then you're a slave to this realm. The whole goal is you live and then you die. You can die plenty times while you're alive. The idea of physical death is completion. You served your purpose and then you won.
And the government knows this. The government knows that when these motherfuckers hit 100%, there is no peace. It's war, chaos, and destruction. They understand and know this. So what they're trying to do is get the masses to take the jab, get the masses to fall victim to this system and not awaken to who they are before it's too late. Because they know once the carbon beings of this planet, the indigenous the motherfuckers who really own and protect this realm, the true rulers, it's over. They know when we hit 100%, it's not all peace. Because let me tell you something, when you hit 100% and you activate 100% of your DNA, do you realize all your memory gonna come back? You gonna remember all the shit that these motherfuckers have done to you for eons. Think about that. Remember, you already know what these people have done to you. But guess what? When you came here through the womb portal, your memory was wiped. But guess what? Your memory is going to come back. All your DNA, all your talents, gifts, skills, superpower abilities, whatever you want to call it, is going to come back online.
Manifestation, we've all heard of it. We all know what it is. If you don't, listen up, I'm going to explain. So a lot of people think that manifestation, it is the wrong way to go and it's going to lead you to hell. So let me shed some light on this situation. Quantum physics, the double slit experiment, basically when they were watching the experiment, it made one reaction, and when they stopped watching it, it changed its reaction. So they realized when they were shooting these electrons, building blocks that small, they noticed that when they don't watch it, when they're not observing, the experiment changes, which basically means that if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, there is no tree falling in the woods because we are the reason why that matter is manifesting, okay? Scientists discovered subatomic particles and they had no idea what made these subatomic particles manifest in the matter, and they realized through the double slit experiment that it's our thought. Now, if we are gods, made in the image of God, we have his ability to manifest. That's one of the many things that we have. Now, here's one thing that you need to understand. All of the mainstream manifestation stuff that's going on, especially in movies with celebrities talking about it, they're trying to get you to manifest for yourself. The Freemason motto is do as thou wilt, which means do it for yourself, aka be selfish and don't do it for anybody else. You need to understand that that way will bring you to Satanism, and that way literally leads to the devil. So they are right in that sense. In order to manifest, you need to manifest for other people and manifest love. So for me, I'm manifesting $1 million so that way I can get on top enough to affect these people that are affecting the planet negatively better, so I can get the word out and wake people up faster. I just really need you to understand the two aspects. Number one, that it is not satanic. Evil cannot create, it can only manipulate. Only positivity and good and love has the ability to create, because that is the balance. That is the groove. Evil can only manipulate, and that's what they're trying to do with half of these esoteric teachings. Astral projection, be careful. You wouldn't go swimming in the middle of the ocean, would you? Because there's sharks that want to eat you that can swim better. That is the same thing as astral projection. Just because we have these abilities doesn't mean that you should play with them lightly. That's why we have Buddhists and stuff inside the mountains which actually know about all of this stuff, and they keep it secret and they keep it sacred, because if this falls into the wrong hands, people will kill themselves with this. When you're at a stage of enlightenment and you make a mistake, there are dire consequences. These are facts and these are true, so just keep these things in mind when you're navigating the new age structure of all of these wonderful things that we can do. Only do it for other people. Only do it for love. Otherwise, you will go to the dark side.
Black folk, so-called black folk, they don't really want their country back. What they want to do is be able to have everything the way it is and not be brutalized and beaten. That's great. But that'll never happen so long as these people is running their United States government over you. Never. It will never happen. They will never live with you in harmony. Not because I don't want that, not because I'm hateful, not because I hate white people, because they have never shown you a time that they have not been at war with somebody. So therefore, I can only go by the 239 years of history that these people have accumulated, by which 222 years of that was perpetual war. So what I'm saying is that if that's the case, then when have they ever been at peace? Never. So what makes you think they're going to make peace with you now?
The sounds of war, right here at home. This is the NFAC, an all-black militia with a mission to defend the black community by any means necessary.
So this is training for one of the new chapters.
Yes. Appearing by the hundreds at protests from Stone Mountain, Georgia to Louisville, Kentucky, demanding justice for police killings and countering what they believe is the threat of right-wing militias. It's a movement started in 2017 by this man, former musician and Army veteran John Grandmaster J. Johnson.
Is the movement growing?
By leaps and bounds.
We met with him outside of Cincinnati, where he says another new chapter is now in the works.
The NFAC stands for the Not Effing Around Coalition.
What's behind the name?
The NFAC was born out of the last 4 years, the deterioration of racial relations in this country. It means that you're preparing yourselves to defend yourselves.
While the group's style echoes the Black Panther Party of the 1960s, their goals are distinct, focusing on defense with the ultimate goal of a black ethno-state.
What makes us so different is that our goal is our own government, our own country, a place where we can determine our own future.
Is violence an option to reach your goals?
The United States was built on violence being an option. Violence should be the last option.
Extremism experts say the group is distinct from far-right militia.
We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
I know the truth is hard to swallow, just digest it. Suspected something's going on, but chose to just neglect it. Deflected by some breaking news, or we just accept it. Expected just to fall in line and follow their perspective. Don't question their objective, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the testament, these children are protected, so I'm fighting.
These are my people, this is my land. This is what we prayed for, and this is God's plan.
Oh, I never thought I'd see this day. Now y'all got a chapter. That's what I'm talking about.
Grandmaster Jay is the commander of the NFAC, the Not Fucking Around Coalition. Yep, it's the largest armed black militia in the country. Today, he's meeting new members to see if their shooting meets his standards.
Don't come out here and try to qualify with a weapon that you're not comfortable with.
A lot of gunfire is about to go off, so I'm gonna find a safe place so I won't get shot.
Bring the boat forward. Range is hot, commence the fire.
When folks look at the NFAC, they see black folks with guns.
They've been socialized to think that when I see a black man with a weapon, then it instantly must be negative. But when I see a white person with a weapon, they must be doing something patriotic. If all you see is black men with guns, then I'm not the one with the visual problem. You are. The defense of the black race does not mean attacking someone. It means just that, defending against attacks. It's not the NFAC that has the record of violence. It is the long historical record of violence being exacted against black people. Grab your weapons, get on this line.
I think all hell is about to break loose.
I give you all a chance to demonstrate the full firepower of your chapter in the event that somebody is stupid enough to point a weapon at you. If that happens, you have the right to use everything that you have. NFAC, open fire!
How you different than me? When you breathe and you bleed, you walking like me, talking like me. How you different than me? When you hurt, it's pain. The same with me. How you different than me? How you different than me? When God made you, the same with me. He didn't make you no better. The same with me. How you different than me? And clearly you see you the same as me. When you breathe and you bleed, you walking like me, talking like me. How you different than me? When you hurt, it's pain. The same with me. How you different than me? How you different than me? When God made you, the same with me. He didn't make you no better. The same with me. How you different than me? And clearly you see you the same as me.
There is no black man. There is no white man. And it is for that reason that every night when I go to bed, I do so full of strength and hope